Hi, today we're going to create an AI model that is trained on your unique data and can help the user accomplish tasks for your SaaS or for your data set or whatever way easier and simpler. So let me give you an example. For example, this model is custom trained on all the documentation from Wized. And if I ask it how to render a list, it will first of all now do the split API call, to the Zeno database that will wait to fetch the data from it. If you now ask yourself how to do a splitted API call, I made a whole video just about how to create that, how to do the things in Zeno. So I would highly recommend to go down in the video description and to check out the video where I taught you how to build that, because this will be the foundation for what we're doing here today. And you cannot build this unless you have the other part set up. So go down here and check it out right now. So we're loading, and that loading is real time. So we're really fetching every 10 seconds to get the information. And we just got a custom response on how to do this in Wiz with even some JavaScript pre-written, and we can copy this or regenerate. Super simple. If you want to know how to copy that, I just made a whole video about that. You will find that as well in the video description. But so let's just walk through the setup, and this will be a clonable. If you haven't already, feel free to watch the Leonardo AI clonable, because it is just basically the same setup, just we're calling a different API, and instead of returning a photo, we are returning text. So let's just walk through that. And we have this button. So on click, we're running the function, first of all, to reset all variables so that we start clean. And then we perform the request completion. So what the request completion does, it just sends the request to complete that to OpenAI, and we're getting an empty record with a pending status and no response back. That was just added in Zeno. And then we're going to use Zeno's post process to fetch the response. So the moment this was submitted, we're fetching every 10 seconds to see if Zeno already has the response added in the database, and if it is one now successful, so that OpenAI added that to our database. And then we also have that when the request finishes, request completion, and it was successful, that was the one we just sent over, we're going to run a function to add the generation ID as a query parameter, and we're going to set the variable for the completion status as the completion status of the request we have in our Zeno database. So it was pending from the beginning, and now it will be successful. Perfect. And then we have another one. This is what will trigger this calling. And I highly recommend to watch the video on how to split that up, because I will be in depth going into there in all the details how to set this up. But we have this condition that if it is pending and we have a generation ID set and it is not requesting at this given moment, and we didn't went over our loop count max of 15 attempts, we will retry to fetch the response. This is all about that. And then we're just going to set the success message, the success status. So after the request completes and is finished, right? So after it is successful, the status, we're going to set the variable as the status, which will be successful. And you could even add some code in the variable that the variable will automatically be programmed based on the status if something is in there, using some if statements. And you could save yourself 2 actions doing that, but I just did it a simpler way so that it is for a beginner. If a beginner wants to clone this, easier to build with it than just to write a whole bunch of JavaScript. And then we have the security breakout of the loop. So if it is requesting true, so if this fetch request, we're fetching all the time to see if we got something now finally in the database, when this is true, so the moment we're fetching, we are adding one number to the count of this variable here. As you can see, if I do now 2 times, we have 16. If I do 2 more times, we will have, actually 1 more time, we have 17. So this is what we're doing here. And we will not be run any request if it is over 15. That's what we have specified in here, so that we have a possibility to break out of the loop and that we don't do 20,000 API calls a day. Yeah, and then after the request, so when we have a custom condition, if the message equals failed, so if something wasn't successful, so if this failed status equals failed, we are going to clear out everything and starting blank again so that the user can retry to regenerate that. Perfect. So this is all the technical the technical part. Then we have the copy to clipboard. This is just on event applied to this button here. And we have a click action. We're preventing default, of course. And then we have this function. You don't need to know too much about this, but we are just essentially taking a variable that is related to the information that is being displayed in here, and we're copying the string contained in this variable. I made a whole video going in detail on that. You will find that down in the video description as well. Perfect. And then we have the restart generation. So what we're going for the restart generation is we're taking the prompt that is currently inputted in the input field, and we are resetting this prompt that was put in as the new input when we retry it, so that the input of the input field doesn't get lost. And then we're just resetting all the requests and all the statuses that have a dependency on all the actions that are being performed on a conditional basis, so that the status will be wiped out, so that it doesn't show successful because we need it to be wiped out. Otherwise, it will not trigger the necessary things. So we're wiping that data out. And yeah, then what we're doing here is we are only showing the Xano animation if the status equals pending. So we're right now setting the embed, the iframe, the source of that, to an empty string, so we don't have to set to the video when we don't need to show the video. So we're only showing the video when we need to show it to save on bandwidth and to have a way faster, better, and smoother user experience. Perfect. And then let's just go in here. We have the set response. We're just very easily setting text as plain text from the array that we're getting, or not the array, from the response we're getting back in the response section. So we're setting that as text. And the nice thing is, since we get it with like formatting, we can save it with formatting in Xano, we have no formatting issues on the front end as well. It will already have the breaks applied to it without having to go to HTML. Because if you were to go to HTML, it would just put it all in one. If you were to go to Markdown, it would be kind of funky. So you want to use plain text when you get a response from OpenAI, because they already format that. Perfect. And you may want to add some logic that if it has like this, you will apply some attributes or HTML attributes to do this bold or whatever. You can be creative with that. Yeah. And then we have some visibility. It's the same like again with the Leonardo AI clonable. We just reload the page real quick, and we have this input holder. This is visible when we don't have any generation status. So when nothing is going on, we need to get a prompt so something can start going on. And then we have the generation icon. This will set visibility if we're not requesting a request completion right now. So when we don't send the initial prompt over to OpenAI, when nothing is going on, we will show that. But the moment we are sending something over and it is processing for a few seconds, we will show a loader, and this will show when is requesting equals true. Think of it like this. I'm going to add this in here, and we see this loader because it is just taking a second to do the request. Once the request came back and we have added that in the database table, and the database is like pending, we're waiting for OpenAI to give us a callback, and then once we got the response, we will add that in the database. And once it is added, we'll let you know front end that you can display that data. This is what we're doing with the fetch. And then we're going to show that. So now we have the loader. This will be visible under two conditions. If the status length is greater than null, and if the status doesn't equal successful. So when it is pending, you could also do like when this is pending, but I don't know why I did it like this. You could also just do equals pending. Okay, and then we have the set response. So this is the response holder, and this will be only visible when the generation status equals successful. You could also base this on some of the statuses in here, but I really wanted to avoid writing too much code, so it is easier to understand for beginners as well, because I think this is a great beginner clonable to build your first AI SaaS. And it is an exciting thing if you build your first AI SaaS. This really pushes you, I think, in a wonderful direction and in a bright future ahead of you. And yeah, this is the Wiz part. I'm not going to go into a deep dive of the Webflow part just because it is one-to-one the same like the previous clonable for the AI SaaS built by Leonardo AI. I just changed the colors. But one thing I want to show you is I have this text field and I did a little trick in here. We have -2 and 4 rem. And we have this holder here on 2 on the side and 0 on here. So what we're doing is we're like moving it a bit like this, and then we have overflow hidden, so we don't see any loading bar while we scroll, because I don't like how that looks on Windows or on Mac. And the loading bar will be here, but it will not be visible because we just use a little bit of an overlap. That's how Airbnb, by the way, does it too. And yeah, this was like a little trick I figured out. And if you want to know how we did the Xano database setup and all of that, I will link the video down in the video description, because I just made a full in-depth mini crash course on how to work with that, how to break out of the loop, and we really went into all the details. And yeah, I would highly recommend to look into that as well, so that you can work with the request. I just showed you here how to work with the request, but that video will teach you how to build the request yourself. Yeah, so thank you so much for all your support. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, see you tomorrow. And yeah, please let me know what the next clonable is that you want me to build, because I'm on the mission to build all the complex stuff so that you don't have to do it. Yeah, thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.